Hey everyone, welcome to this workshop, How to Paint Your Dreams. I am very excited about this. This is such a great subject matter. Dimitra and I both use our dreams as inspiration oftentimes. Not every painting we do is from our dreams, but a lot of them. And we dream all the time. If you're watching this and you don't dream all the time, it's perfectly fine, because I have a feeling after this you're going to start dreaming more. And also, there's a lot of information in this workshop that will be really, really helpful to you in your art practice, because we cover all kinds of topics like symbolism and so even your daydreams or your imagination, engaging with your imagination, can apply to this workshop. So it's going to be really great. I think you're going to be very inspired. And if you're watching this and you are in a slump or you're in some kind of, creative gridlock, I think you're going to get unstuck, because there's so much inspiration around this subject. And it's going to be really good. So we have a live chat here, and so we're going to do a Q&A at the end, and we'll be able to, answer your questions. Also, Jake is here, Jake Dunn, on the chat, and he'll be answering your questions. Do you want to say hi, Jake?
What's up, beautiful creatives of the world? I'm super pumped for this workshop. It is going to be magnificent. Ellie and Dimitra are avid dreamers almost every single day. I sit through, a long and detailed dream. And actually, just the other day, I saw one of their dreams brought to life through a painting. So that was really fun. And I'm really excited for them to just share all of their tips on symbolism, because I found that really helpful. And anyways, yeah, back to you guys. Lots of fun.
I'm very excited about this workshop because it is more personal, and it's something that it's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk about dreams and like how to really use that as personal inspiration to paint and make your paintings more unique. So we just really quickly are going to share about our stories, how we got started in art, just super briefly, and then we'll get into the content.
Yeah, so my name's Ellie Milan, and I have been a professional artist since 1996. I'm married to an artist, John Milan, and we had 4 artist children. So we've been together since high school. This is our winter ball picture here on the left, and as young little kids here, and then a picture of us all grown up. So we have made a living selling our artwork since 1996. We both went to art school, and right after we graduated, we both got jobs creating art and selling art to the decor market. So this is just some example of some older artwork from that time period of almost 30 years ago. And I didn't even know in art school about the decor market, never heard of it. And I just thought, my professors told me that you just paint for art's sake, and there's no artists that are actually making it. And then when I got involved in the decor market, I saw there was tons of artists all around me that were making a good living. And then eventually we got into the collectible market. So that's kind of what you're probably more familiar with, galleries in the more fine art market. We also were involved in publishing and licensing. So that's when you publish your image on other products or as lithographs or giglet prints, and they're sold, in mass. So once we got involved in the collectible market and we started working with galleries directly, John and I were collaborating at this time, and we were painting on the same pieces together. So this is some of that artwork. We together sold over 10,000 pieces of art in our career so far, and that's both of us together combined. So we have been in every facet of the art world you can think of, and worked with all kinds of different people, and put our work in lots of different countries, lots of different markets, and so we have that experience behind us. In 2010, I opened Milan Art Institute because I wanted to help other artists also make a living selling their art. Because a lot of artists were contacting us and asking, how do you do it? Can you help me? Can you help me make a living selling my art? So we opened the school and created classes, and a lot of people came to us from all over. In 2014, we developed and launched the Mastery program. So that's our main program where we teach artists in 1 year how to do everything that they need to know for an art career, turn their passion for art really into a full-time profession. So that launched in 2014. And then in 2018, it went online, and we launched online. So now there's thousands of students all over the world learning from us and becoming full-time artists once they graduate. So it's a really great program. And that is just a bit about me. I'm still painting and working today. In fact, I have a show coming up in our gallery where it's going to be this incredible immersive experience a week from this Friday. Dimitra has a closing of her show that was super successful in the gallery. And
yep, that's this Friday.
That's also this Friday. So yeah.
That's in Sarasota. So if you guys are in the area, you should definitely come. But yeah. So I will just share really quickly about how I got started. So I started painting when I was about 11 years old, when my parents opened the art school. And I just really fell in love with painting and wanted to do it for my career. And I had a lot of time to devote to art. So I just started taking all the classes I could, and then I eventually found my style by doing these portfolio boot camps. And I was just painting very consistently for about 2 years, and that's how I really found my style. So this was my first gallery show in Scottsdale when I was 15. And from the newspaper there was a publishing company in Hawaii that saw this and reached out to me wanting to work with me and represent me. And so it was really just a dream come true. And they just took all my paintings and put them in galleries, made prints, published my work. And all I had to do was paint and travel and go to shows. So I did that for a while. And in my first year working with them, I sold over $1 million worth of art. And I was starting to feel like, there was just no point of, I was coming to a crossroad where there was just kind of like I had to make a decision. And working with these publishers, I had only one way of, working their business model, where it was sending them originals, they'd put it in galleries, and I was pretty much maxed out at that point, and I couldn't paint any faster. And so I was just kind of feeling like this machine, or just kind of doing the same thing all the time. And I wanted to, I felt like there was so much more an artist could do. And at the same time, I was growing my social media, and I was having people contact me wanting to buy paintings or do commissions with me, and I had to turn them away because I had to send my art to the galleries. So I decided to start self-representing and just, work directly with my collectors and have a really great relationship with them. And just, I've been selling mostly online and through social media, and then also in some galleries. So I'm so glad that I made this shift and started to really become my own business owner and learn how to really run a business myself. So this is some of my art today. And like my mom mentioned, I help co-teach the Mastery program and just share everything I've learned throughout my art career, and how I really love helping artists, learn how to sell their work online and represent themselves, and kind of use both systems, the traditional way and the modern way. Okay, so now we're going to get into the content of how to paint your dreams.
Yeah, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this workshop is I feel like, first of all, it's a subject that not a lot of people talk about. There's not a lot of workshops out there where artists are really diving deep into symbolism and using your dreams as inspiration for your paintings, and really kind of dissecting that as a topic. And I think it's a tremendous way to overcome artist block, to get new inspiration that maybe you hadn't thought of. It's a great way to freshen up your work or elevate your work and give it sort of a new spark or a new direction, if you're looking for that. And I think it's also a way, if you're already painting your dreams, to maybe take it further and go deeper in that subject matter and create something truly unique. Because if you think about it, your dream, let's say last night you had a dream. Nobody else probably had a dream like that. Mm-hmm. It's so unique to you. And so it's an instant way to really get some kind of unique subject matter. So there's a lot of artists that do struggle with artist block. And I think there's not one of us that hasn't experienced this at some point in our life. Have you experienced artist block, Dimitra?
Definitely. And I think it's just part of the process. Like, you have to learn how to navigate that and overcome it, because it happens to every artist. I don't think there's any artist out there that doesn't go through that at some point. And it can happen multiple times a year or maybe just once a year. But I think it's just a way to grow beyond that and get stronger. So
what to you, would you describe briefly like what artist block feels like for an artist?
For me, it feels like I start to not like my paintings anymore, and I just feel like, oh, this is all cheesy, or this doesn't mean anything, or I start like having all this self-doubt, and then I just feel like totally uninspired. Like, what's the point of painting this? Like, why am I doing this? And so I just, sometimes get stuck for a little bit, but I just realize I remind myself there's people out there, they love, like, what I'm doing is important and it brings joy to people. And I love painting when I am not in that mindset, it's rare when I feel that. But I think just learning how to push past that and paint anyway, and then eventually that feeling's going to go away and you'll be even stronger afterwards and have like a new inspiration. So
yeah. So I think, this workshop and delving into this subject matter and seeing how dreams can inspire your artwork, I think can help you move past that artist block. Can give you new inspiration and motivation to apply to your artwork. It will give you, a unique edge because you, like we already discussed, you were the only one that had that dream, and it's truly unique. And I think learning, what we hope is that you learn through this workshop how to not approach things very literally, but that there's metaphor, there's symbolism, there's poetry to artwork. It's really a beautiful thing, and to move sort of out of that stage of a literal portrait or representation of a dream that you had, like an illustration. And I think a lot of artists struggle with what you mentioned, Dimitra, being cheesy, this sort of fear of being cheesy. Nobody wants to be cheesy. And I have found in my experience that artists are like, our cheese threshold is very low. There's only so much cheese we can tolerate. And we have this constant fear of being cheesy, but really the audience out there loves cheese. Sometimes I come up with the cheesiest titles, and I'm kind of even blushing as I'm typing it out and deciding that's going to be the title. And the person will buy it and go, "Oh, I loved the title. It's really what sold me on this piece." And it's like, the audience's threshold for cheese is way up here. So
we're very self-critical as artists, I think. Like, you just have this extra, like, you criticize yourself more than anyone else. So just getting past that and trying not to let that stop you is a big thing.
Yeah. And I think every artist asks their friends, is this cheesy? Do you think this is cheesy? Right? Because we're always worried about that. So I don't think dreams are cheesy at all. So, well, there's three kinds of paintings. I think all art can kind of be categorized into one of these three categories. So if you look at these three examples, we have a bear and a fox, and two polar bears. So if you look at just the bear here, the colorful bear, that I would call a portrait. So what I'm saying is a portrait. It can be a portrait of a landscape, like a specific place. It could be a portrait of an animal, a portrait of a flower. It's a depiction. It's just simply a depiction. It's the artist's interpretation of what that object looks like. It doesn't really go any further than that. It's just, maybe there's an emotion to it, maybe there's an expressiveness to it, but it's just simply a depiction. And there's nothing wrong with that kind of art. That's not like, bad art or anything like that. It's great art. Particularly this bear. It's very expressive. It's colorful. The intensity that the bear's looking at us, it speaks. But it's just simply a depiction. You don't get the feeling that this bear symbolizes something in particular, or there's a story necessarily happening. It's just an expressive depiction of a bear. If you look at the polar bears, though, you start to now think, there's something going on here. There's something deeper or beneath the surface of these bears. They're not just a portrait of two polar bears. They mean something. They symbolize something. And then you look at sort of the background and the environment they're in, and you want to kind of, make some kind of relationship between the two, and you arrive somewhere with it. And they might symbolize something different to different people, but the bear now represents another idea. So that would be a symbol. Mm-hmm. And then the third type of painting is a narrative, and that tells a story. That is like almost like a slice of life, and something is either about to happen, something is going to happen, something is happening.
It shows time, I think. It captures time, like something in that moment.
Yeah, a moment in time or something. Yeah. So if you look at the bear and the fox, there's something going on there. The way that bear is looking at the fox and the way the fox is looking at us, it's very subtle. It's very slight, but now it's narrative. It's telling us a story of some sort, which can also be symbolic. So there could be symbolism involved in a narrative as well. But not all symbolic paintings are narrative. So that's just something to keep in mind as we're going through this.
I'm talking about this. Okay. So now we're just going to talk about how dreams are, how they can be a source of inspiration. And I feel like we touched on this earlier, that the value of dreams in art, it's so special because everyone does dream something different. It's really unique to you. And like a dream that you will have is going to be totally different from someone else. So you really have this deep connection to your painting and what you're capturing in your canvas. So I think if you are someone who dreams a lot, using that as inspiration is a really good thing. And then with prophetic art, this, like, you might not agree with this, but I think that all art is prophetic in a way where that just means what you're creating, like you're bringing that into existence. It's such a, how do you describe this? Like, well, it's a higher way of like manifesting something. Like when you're painting it, you're painting the life you want to have. And so, if you're painting something beautiful and light, then you're bringing that into the world. If you're painting something dark and heavy, you're bringing that into the world. So it's keeping that in mind as you're painting. You're really saying something important with your art.
I think prophetic art, the essence of prophetic art is that you are engaging with an inspirational source sort of outside of yourself. And, some people call it a muse, some people call it a daemon, some people call it, God, spirit, some sort of spirituality. There's a source of inspiration that exists, outside. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this a lot. So she's a great writer to read what she wrote. What was that book that she read? Think, Dream,
Big Magic.
Big Magic. Yeah, Big Magic is a great book by Elizabeth Gilbert. So when you kind of see yourself as an artist that's sort of a conduit or a co-creator with that sort of external source, then what's happening is that messaging is you're not the one solely responsible for that message. There's something magical sort of happening through you where there's messages that are coming onto the canvas that you aren't necessarily conceiving of on your own.
Yeah.
They're sort of happening without you knowing, which I think is very, very magical
And powerful.
And powerful. And it's very much like a dream. We, for the most part, we don't control our dreams. I know there's a whole thread in there of what do they call it? Lucid dreaming. But we're not talking about that. So, you aren't really in control of the dream you get at night. It's just like the story begins to unfold while you're sleeping. And I think there's messages in that. And those messages can translate into your painting by sort of connecting with these dreams. So I think prophetic art is just basically art that has some kind of message that really partially comes from an external inspiration.
Yeah. And prophetic art is a whole subject on its own that we could talk about.
We've actually taught like 3-day retreats on prophetic art. So
because even like an abstract with nothing in it, that can be prophetic art. So it's not really necessarily imagery. But the last point is I feel like when you're using your dreams as inspiration, you're moving away from portrait art and depicting something into more of like a story, or there's multiple elements where you're thinking there's something else going on, like a hidden message. So those are the 3 points. And we want to talk a little bit about the process of painting and how you can really create a dreamy looking piece of art. And I feel like the whole basis or foundation of like what we're talking about is you kind of want to let your painting be what it wants to be and not forcing a dream into it or forcing this message that you want people to get when they look at your art. You want it to just kind of evolve and be what it's meant to be. And that way it's going to be a lot more powerful. And so being creative in the moment and intuitive and learning how to let things go. And I feel like it really goes with your process and understanding what materials work for you as an artist. So I wanted to talk about or show some examples. Where did those go?
These here?
Oh, yeah, those. I think that's for this slide, right? Yes. Okay. So these are some like abstracts that I did. And I feel like starting with an abstract and starting with something really fluid and just kind of, out of your right brain is a good way to, begin your painting and start like working from there to turn it into something instead of forcing an image first thing. You're starting with a base that's kind of more abstract. So this is going more into abstract realism, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I really love using inks, and this is a really good process for me to be more fluid and just, see what the painting wants to be. And then really quickly, is this where?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other night I had this really crazy dream. I won't go into all the details, but I had a dream about there was like a group of people that was kind of divided, and half the people had these bees like stamped on their lips, and it was like they were marked.
Like a tattoo?
Yeah, well, like an engraving, but it wasn't scary. It was like a stamp. Like, I don't know. It wasn't scary though, but it was like they were separated from that bee on their lips, and I don't know. That just really stood out to me, and I was starting to think about the symbolism of bees, and I do paint a lot of bees anyway, and so to have this dream, it just felt really, it felt very special, and so I painted this. And kind of working off of some images that I made, but also from my dream. And the gold and the bee stood out to me, so I knew I wanted that in the painting. And I did this with watercolor, so it felt very like it was kind of emerging instead of just being like painted on so realistically.
And the interesting thing is when you have a dream like that, and maybe you don't exactly understand it, but these symbols sort of stand out to you, like the bee being stamped on somebody's lips, and that kind of putting people in a group or something. It differentiated these people from other people. And then you're like, what does that mean? It must mean something. What is the message?
Yeah, I feel like hits you and like you think about it all day.
Right.
Then yeah, go continue.
Yeah. So I think when you engage with it on the level of painting, even in a sketch, like this isn't a finished piece. This is just her internalizing and processing and engaging with that dream. It might go somewhere. And we're going to show you some examples later where it does go somewhere. It doesn't always go somewhere. It just is a sketch, and it's just a part of your creative lifestyle.
An expression.
And an expression. So, but I think by putting it to paper, by, sketching and seeing what does that look like on a 2D surface, it will begin to form maybe your next series.
Yeah. So finding the right materials can help you express better and have something more abstract where it is more open-ended for people and you're not just painting realism. So that's why we kind of wanted to talk about this. So with the materials, I feel like these are some really great materials, just fluid acrylics or different kinds of inks. These are 3 different brands, but they're all really great as a base, like I just showed you, to create kind of like an abstract base. And
they're kind of dreamy. They flow, they're fluid. You get your surface very wet, and they just kind of move and have a mind of their own. And why we're even bringing this up is some materials are very conducive to that muse, that sort of outside inspiration to work through you. It's sort of, once you give up control as an artist, not to say you give up complete control. I mean, I'm still very conscious of what I'm painting and why I'm painting it. But if you lock in and you manhandle your painting and you're like, okay, from start to finish, it's going to be like this because I want it so, and you don't hold anything loosely and you don't engage your intuitive side, then I would call that very controlled, very, very hyper controlled.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow room, I think, for that sort of dreamy intuition, the external source of inspiration to work through you.
Yeah.
And it could become illustrative if you're painting your dreams. And instead of sort of like, I experienced this dream, it's in me, and now I'm sort of lightly engaging with it. So through me, this message is now sort of maturing and coming onto the canvas. So we found there's certain materials that keep things loose, keep things sort of open, and maybe a little bit out of control.
So another one is spray paint. And I don't use this that much, but I'm starting to use it more because I think it does scare me. It is kind of more like you can't really control it that much. It's just whatever is going to come out, it'll be there. So
do you spray it into wet ink?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I love that.
So the spray paint and then using different texture pastes, I think that just kind of creates a more dreamy background where you have something else going on besides just plain canvas. So there's so many mixed media materials. We just brought a few of our favorites to show you. And then in this painting, I have like gold leaf in the background, collage. You could have hidden messages with collage. I mean, there's so much you can do to create a more dreamy looking painting.
So really your process from the moment you have a dream that stands out to you, like Dimitra and her lips and bees, right? To the point of where it becomes an actual working series, there's a lot of process in there. And I think this is going to be different for everyone. And this is sort of your opportunity and excitement to discover and to find your way.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend that somewhere in this process, you want to be intuitive. You don't have to be intuitive the entire time. I certainly am not. I'm a recovering control freak. But I've really stretched myself, even though it's not my nature, I've really stretched myself to try to be intuitive as much as I possibly can, because I see the value of losing that control and allowing space for that external inspiration to take form. So for most artists, I think the creative process, a lot of us think the creative process starts at the painting. you got your canvas in front of you, a brush in your hand. Now I'm starting the creative process. And that's not really the way it works. The creative process really begins, it's an ongoing thing, kind of like a river. There's this creative river, and you're sort of swimming in it. And
like in this very moment, we're probably imagining, we have paintings in the back of our head that we want to do, and we're thinking every day, how am I going to go about doing that? So it's like, you're right, it's like a 24/7 thing of creating art.
Well, and what came to my mind when you were sharing about the lips and the bee is, in that dream, is Van Gogh's quote of I paint my dreams and I dream my paintings. So you paint a lot of women and lips and bees. I think you even painted bees on lips.
And then that was my dream.
And then you dreamt it. And
Yeah.
and now you're going to paint it. And so it's this sort of lifestyle, I think, of incorporating the things around you in your life that inspire you and bringing them into your work. And then the things you work on begin to color and fill your life. So I just don't you just love being an artist. It's like the best thing. Anybody who's not an artist, they're just missing out. And so, we're trying to get as many artists as possible because it's the best thing ever. So your themes and your subject matter, are choosing those are a part of your process. How do you go about choosing your subject matter? And what does that process look like? And then you're going to gather some kind of source material or reference material, whether it's colors or textures or imagery, to reference as you're painting. Not everybody just sort of paints out of their head or in a vacuum of no inspiration. So, and then how do you construct your painting? Do you start with, washes and transparent washes? Do you start with laying down texture and collage? Maybe you start with, blocking in oil. Maybe you start with a drawing. Like everybody starts their painting a little bit differently. And that's all a part of your process. And at any point that can be intuitive. It doesn't have to be all, planned out and controlled. How you lay down paint, right? That's different for everybody. How I lay down paint is going to be different than how Dimitra lays down paint. Our movements and how we hold the brush, and how quickly we move. The aggressiveness that we have while we're painting versus the more, gentleness that we might have while we're painting. So how you lay down paint is a big part of our process. And then working in series, right? How it's not just one painting that lives on its own. It's a body of work. Your whole creative process is more about a body of work, and instead of just a standalone painting. So, so I'm going to kind of tell you my process of when I got a dream that really stood out to me, and then how it became a series. So I had this dream years ago, probably 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I think it was more like 3. And it was a very short dream. I mean, maybe it lasted 10 seconds, if that. And basically, I was up above somewhere, maybe on a mountaintop or something, and I was looking over a valley, and there was 2 mountains, one on each side, and one had like fire and smoke, like a volcano coming out of it, and the other just was filled with light. And it felt like a decision, and I kind of didn't know which direction to go. And so I just jumped off of this mountain into sort of like this soft, sort of heavenly garden or something. And that was it. And so look what I did. I just literally illustrated the dream, It didn't look exactly like this, but I thought, well, that would be a cool painting. And I would call this, we're going to talk about this later, the first bus stop. It's not like this is a bad painting. I actually really like how this painting came out. But I think because the dream was so interesting, and there was some interpretation, of course, how I painted it, and the kinds of flowers and the color and where it is, and the fact that it was a diver. That was very random. That was let's say, the more intuitive part of putting this woman in a swimsuit and a diving cap. That is the part, but that's the part I grabbed onto. The rest of it that was illustration felt kind contrived to me or illustrative. It was just, oh, I had this dream and now I painted it. But there was something about the diver that gripped me when I was painting it. And so I was like, I'm going to do a series of divers. I really love that diver. So I did a few more paintings with divers. And so this is another one in the middle that you can see was another painting of a diver. And because I had been doing all these divers, I thought, the ultimate diver, a mermaid, I'm going to do a mermaid. So I kind of went into this thread of people under the sea diving into something was kind of the idea. So this mermaid was the painting I did after that. And then it was like mermaids, because that was the first time I ever painted a mermaid in my entire life. And so I was, quite taken by this idea of painting a mermaid. So I did a lot of mermaids after that. And then real recently, I did a whole series of mermaids where I did 6, large, in-depth, put a lot of time into it, paintings of mermaids. And did I dream about a mermaid? I didn't. But I did have that dream about the diver, and I engaged with it. I moved into it, and it became this other thing. So that's just one example. There's so many ways to go about this, but that's just sort of one example of illustrating from real life experience of how a dream sort of informed my work.
Yeah, really cool. So these are a few different paintings of mine that each one was kind of its own dream. They're not really a series, but so the first one with the girl in the waves, I had this dream of like these giant waves. It was actually about my cousin, like he was walking towards the waves, and I was really afraid for him, and I was worried that he was going to get swallowed up. And then he kind of turned towards me and like went straight into them. And I basically got the feeling like it was okay, but it was out of my control, and I had to just trust what was happening. And so I didn't really illustrate that exact dream, but I kind of was going off of the feeling I had or the mood in the dream. Like there was this huge storm happening that was out of control, but inside I wanted to capture that peace, like peace in the storm. And so that's what that painting is. And so when you look at that, it's not a very literal thing. You don't think of as dream. It can mean multiple things to different people. But to me, it's very special because it was literally painted the day after I had that dream that really impacted me. And then this painting with the bear, that was a lot more literal. I had an actual dream where I was sitting down and painting bears. So I was actually dreaming of this painting that I was doing with bears, and I was painting a president, like George Washington or something, into the bear. And so I didn't actually paint George Washington into the bear, but I painted this more, you can't zoom in, but there's like this, what would you call that? Like
an angel?
It's an angel and a cow, and there's a little cherub or something.
It's just an angel and a cow.
It was like this kind of vintage old, like, I don't know. It had the
cool.
feeling
There's like an
of,
arm carrying a book.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird painting for me. It's not my usual thing. And I feel like I was a little bit more illustrative with this, but it still was kind of open-ended. And to me, it's really cool because it was something I would never paint normally. I would never go about painting that. But it still
looks like your style.
Yeah. And then the last painting, I just had a dream a few years ago about, so this is actually Jake. And I had a dream of Jake where I was holding this crown for him. And I just saw him like as this king with a crown. And so that painting is more literal, but...
And for those of you that maybe don't know us, maybe this is your first workshop, Jake on customer service is Dimitra's husband.
Oh, yes. Forgot to mention that.
So she's not just having dreams about, a customer service guy or anything.
Not just any old employee.
But so all these paintings, and Jake is the model for this painting. So all of these paintings are very special to me, and not every painting I do is inspired by a dream. But when I do have an important dream like that, where it just lives with me all day, then I really feel like I should use it as a source for my paintings. So I feel like this style of that we teach a lot about, and we talk about this a lot, is abstract realism. And I think that lends itself really well to capturing dreams because this style helps you maybe piece together imagery that might be cheesy on its own if it's painted realistic, but when it has this abstract feeling where things are just kind of melting into each other and it's coming and going and there's room for interpretation, then it just feels a lot more high end or higher taste to it. So
Yeah, imagine this girl with like, hard edges and a rhinoceros with, definite edges in a, grassy field or something. It would be cheesy. It would be like, what is this woman doing looking up with the rhinoceros standing there? It would be strange and maybe in a not so great way. Whereas because of the style of the coming and going and all those brush strokes and drips and different things, and in case you don't maybe know what abstract realism is, it's a stylistic choice, basically like what it sounds, blending abstraction with realism. So the abstraction is sort of that stuff you see around her shoulder. It's brush strokes. It's just
drips,
drips. It's where the edges kind of merge into abstract forms, and the abstract forms sort of materialize into something real that you can recognize. And there's a lot of people that paint in this style. It's not Dimitra's style. It's a style that she paints in, but there's a lot of artists that paint in this style, and it's really cool. It does lend itself well to
there's a lot of variation within the style.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through, these are a few techniques on how to capture dreams in your paintings where these techniques really lend themselves well to that. So do you want to talk about the mood?
Yeah. So a lot of times when you have a dream, it's not even necessarily about the imagery. I mean, sometimes you have these dreams and you're like, I would never paint that. That would be a bizarre painting, or that would be a
like
dark
my dream
painting
last
even.
night. I had a crazy dream last night and I would not paint it. So.
Oh, about the orcas eating everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. But maybe it's the emotion. You know how dreams sort of leave a residue. Sometimes I wake up and I know I've had this epic dream all night. I dreamt all night. I know it. I'll even look at my aura ring and I got like REM, all over the place. And I'm like, I knew that I dreamt all night. But I can't remember any of it. I have no idea what I dreamt, but I feel it. There's a residue of it. There's something lingering, with that dream. And I'll go, it was something good. Like there was something great that happened in my dream last night. So a lot of times, dreams can even just, the residue of it can leave an emotion or a mood that you want to capture. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the great ways to capture mood is through color, light, and edges. We're going to go through each of these, but there's also the mixing of imagery, a scale differential, or the congruency of subject and environment. So here with mood, through color and light, I tried to capture in these paintings a specific mood. So they're a little bit different. They're both on the dreamy side. And I have found by using light and glowing light, it brings a certain mysterious, mystical type mood to it. So another way is the edges. So if you look at the unicorn on the left, the with the butterflies, the way that he kind of disappears into the clouds, and you sort of can't, on the back end of the horse, you can't almost differentiate where he stops and where the background starts. It gives you a lot of depth. So you're really invited to go deep into the painting, and that mistiness of the edges, I think, is a great way to make something feel dreamy or like it's lost in its environment. And then on the right, creating a great distance between the girl and the unicorn. He seems really far away. Maybe he's a part of a dream, and whereas she seems stronger and more vivid. and the color has a moodiness to it because of the light. But how would you describe the mood on the one on the right? It's a little harder talking about your own work. But.
Yeah, well, to me, it does feel very dreamy because of all the glowing light, and she looks like she's dreaming. Also, the imagery, like the unicorn, is. I mean,
whenever you paint a unicorn,
yeah, it feels dreamy. So, but the colors are more moody. I think you have moody colors, which is your style choice. So another way to create more dreamy artwork is kind of mixing different imagery together to tell a story. So mixing things that you don't normally see, where it's very imaginative or almost surreal. I think that makes a more dreamy painting. So both of these paintings are mine, and I just, also doing double exposure is another way to do it. So kind of just blending the images together.
So this is an example of scaled differential. Whenever you sort of have this Alice in Wonderland effect, it's going to give a dreamy quality because it's now kind of surreal. So surrealism is another way to kind of achieve that dreamy look where something symbolic, something different is happening here. So these are good examples of a scaled differential.
And then putting subjects in like a different environment that you don't normally see, that's definitely taking it to a more surreal level or dreamy level. So both these paintings show that, like, the girl is in the clouds as a butterfly with the birds. It's a very like dreamy, whimsical kind of painting. And same with the one on the right. They are, I don't know. They're in a circus. Or
they're dressed in
Victorian.
human clothes. Yeah. They're taken out of their environment. Their normal environment would be a forest,
walking upright,
and they're in their environment isn't congruent with the subject. So that will automatically kind of get you there. Yeah. And a lot of times we dream these things. Our dreams sometimes don't make much sense. They're very incongruent.
Yeah. And these paintings are on the more, this is good to show you guys a different style, other than being more abstract. This is more realistic, but it's done in such a dreamy way because of the subject matter and the mood.
So what are some ways to kind of unlock some creative motivation? Like okay, so I have these dreams, I've gone to this workshop, but now what? What do I really do? And I think a really great thing to start, I think almost every artist should have this, is a dream journal. So a dream journal is just a journal that you designate simply to dreams. So whenever you go to pick up this journal to read through it for inspiration, all you're going to see in there are the dreams that you've dreamt. And for those of you that don't dream very often or rarely dream at all, do this step and watch what happens. Designate a dream journal and commit your heart to, the next time I have a dream, I'm going to write it down. And you would be surprised how just the slightest little dream, like Dimitra said, she's not going to dream that
not going to paint.
She's not going to paint that dream she had last night. But you never know. You might see orca whales very soon in one of her paintings, maybe swimming through clouds or something, giving flowers to people. I don't know, instead of eating them. But so keeping a dream journal is a great way to because I believe what you value really will come to you. And so what we honor, right, will sort of be alive in our life. So by getting a dream journal and saying, that's my dream journal, and I commit to that, I believe you're inviting, you're sort of opening yourself up to, like, I'm going to have some dreams. And I've known a lot of people, just personally, friends that they've started dreaming as soon as we start talking about dreams and the importance of dreams and how there's messages in dreams, and it's this really cool, vital part of our life. So I think sketching your dreams is also great. Whether they ever become paintings, it doesn't matter. Just engaging with the dreams you've had by sketching them out, like you saw Dimitra do with the lips. And another thing, if you're stuck, is play until you discover something. So playing with some materials some of these materials that we talked about here, some inks and textures, collaging. Just play until you discover something. Once you've discovered something, then you can run with it.
Yeah.
And then just allowing intuition somewhere in your process. Try not to be so controlled.
Yeah, that's all really good. Also, if you want to remember dreams more, I've noticed like first thing in the morning, it's so important what you do right when you open your eyes. Like if you look at your phone or like usually that's what it is where you lose everything. For myself, I kind of like, I close my eyes again and just try to think back to like the feeling I just had or where I was just at in my dream, and I try to like focus on that, and then it usually comes back to you.
Yeah, if you really, really commit to ignoring your phone, at least for the first 20 minutes after you wake up, don't even look at it. I can honestly say I don't always do this. I look at my phone sometimes. But when I go through these spurts, bouts, whatever I'm trying to say, in life where I don't look at my phone, I remember a lot more dreams. So yeah, that is a great point I forgot about.
So I just wanted to keep these, give these 3 steps on, taking your dream and turning it into a painting. So I think these are really good steps to remember if you want to do that. And there's a lot of self-discovery when kind of going through your dreams and realizing like what those messages are, because I feel like it all is symbolism. Like your dreams are a symbol and it's not a literal thing. Like if you dream of someone dying, for example, and that really is scary to you, that's not like, that's what that means. It's like, it's a death of something that means something to you. Like that person is a symbol in your life. So sometimes the scary dreams like aren't even,
as scary.
They're not as scary as like maybe you first feel it or whatever. I don't know if that's making sense.
It is.
So,
I've had quite a few dreams where I've died in the dream, and of course I'm terrified when I'm having the dream.
Yeah.
But then what I take that to mean is I died to something, and usually it's something bad, like something I don't want in my life. Like maybe I had unforgiveness towards somebody and I died to it. Or maybe I had a stubborn attitude about something, and I believed something that just kind of wasn't true. And then I experienced this death in my sleep. And so that's the first thing I think about when I die in my dream is like, okay, what do I need to give up, or what is it that I need to let go of or something? So, which is a good thing. I'm thankful for that.
So, kind of picking which symbols in the dream stood out to you most. There's going to be something that happened that like you grabbed onto that left a mark on you. So for my dream about the bees, it was the bees on the lips. There's a lot of other things that happened in the dream, but that thing was like what really grabbed my attention. And I thought that could be turned into a beautiful painting. So taking those symbols and then turning it into something inspiring, uplifting, beautiful, because you don't want to paint something dark. That type of art doesn't sell. People don't want to live with that. So taking something in a dream that could be really strange, but like turning it beautiful, that's how you can turn it into a successful painting. And then also just thinking about the mood and like really living in that mood. If it's like a really wonderful place, like in your dream, it was like this beautiful thing that you loved. What was that mood that you're feeling? And that can also be translated into the painting with the colors, the light, the edges. So those are the 3 things. And I hope that it was very inspiring for you guys. And yeah.
Okay, so interpreting symbols, that is like a big part, I think, of dreams, interpreting dreams, understanding the messages. And I think interpreting symbols, like you can take this, whether you dream or not, or you're ever going to paint your dreams. I mean, we hope you will, but is understanding your paintings. Sometimes, most of the time, I paint stuff and I have no idea why I'm painting what I'm painting. It's just what my gut wants to paint. It's what the aesthetic inside of me is driving me to paint. There's an inner need to paint a certain subject matter, but I'm not 100% sure why I'm doing it or what it all means. Sometimes I do know, but sometimes I don't. And then I'll look at what I've painted after the fact, and I'll want to sort of interpret it. What does this mean? Why did I paint that? A lot of times as I'm painting it, it comes to me. So what I've learned over the years, an interpretation of symbols, is that it's not to really interpret symbols. It's not about what does it look like and what is it. So if we have here a rabbit, so what is it? It's a rabbit. What does it look like? It's furry and it has long ears. That is, kind of useless information, right? But what does it do? What is its function? So we can kind of go off of appearance and say, well, long ears. Rabbits, almost all rabbits have long ears, long floppy ears. What do ears represent? Well, what do you do with ears? What are their function? You hear well, right? So maybe it's about hearing well, hearing a predator from far away. What are some other things we know about rabbits? What does it do? What is their function? Rabbits multiply, right? We've heard the saying. Okay, we won't go into that. But so rabbits multiply, and they're very abundant and they're very prolific. So maybe the dream is about your business and it multiplying, and there's a prolificness to your business. Or so there's a lot of things we could say about rabbits. What else could we say about rabbits?
Well, I like
lucky, right? You always think about the lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of liked where you're going with the ears. It's like being in tune with, like very sensitive. Like they're super
Very
sensitive
sensitive.
animals. So being sensitive to the slightest move, like maybe it's being in tune with the voice within you or outside you.
And that's the thing. From what I said, that's what resonated with her. So if she was painting a painting of a rabbit right now, or she had a painting of a rabbit.
I do have one in the gallery.
Okay, so then that might be something how it's going to mean to her. And that's why symbolism is so cool, because it's open-ended. It can mean that to her and something completely different to somebody else. And I think that's why imagery is such a strong piece of our voice as artists, because it's multidimensional, multifaceted, and it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. When art only means one thing, and it can only mean that one thing, and this is the meaning of the painting, and take it or leave it, it's not as strong. It's not as gripping as an open-ended piece that is open to interpretation. And me as the viewer, I can look at it, and it can speak to me, even if what it speaks to me is very different than what it spoke to the artist who created it. So another example is just a cactus. Animals are kind of easy because, there's, animals have like a definite function. Whereas if you think about this cactus, what are the attributes of a cactus? It grows in the desert. It requires very little water. It's pokey to the touch. So you just kind of go through the attributes, and from the attributes, you can assign it a meaning, right? If I say someone is like a cactus, right, that could mean that they have a prickly personality, or it could mean that they can grow tall and strong with even very little water. They can take resources and a few resources and make a lot out of it. I mean, there's tons of ways to interpret a cactus, really. So that is the beauty of utilizing symbolism in your art. So something you want to kind of avoid, in common pitfalls, is canned symbolism. So as artists, I mean, and that kind of brings in the cheesy factor, is using canned symbolism. This is just kind of like a real obvious conglomeration of a bunch of canned symbolism. It carries baggage, and some of that canned symbolism it already means something universally to almost everyone. And when that happens, you can't get around it. It's just mean. You might as well have written the word in there, faith, or written the word in there of, I don't know, whatever it is that it means, peace, right? If you paint a white dove, you might as well just write peace in your artwork. Not to say you can't paint a white dove, but
Yeah, doves can be, I think, interpretive.
for
But,
sure,
Yeah.
especially if they're done in a really interesting way.
But things that do carry baggage, like you're saying, like all these symbols in here, it's one meaning. And so, yeah, this type of art is much harder to sell. Yeah, we don't have to really.
It doesn't have an open-endedness to it.
Yeah.
I think another pitfall is to be literal. So I gave you an example of the diver, diving. That's sort of like a literal representation or illustration of my dream, and those tend to be, I don't know. I just think like a better way to express yourself is to be more interpretive or go deeper in it and not be so literal. And then explain right brain versus left brain.
So I think, with everything we're saying, it's like you want to, I think just in general as an artist, to be like a really good artist, it's great to get into the habit of painting from the right side of your brain. So that's where you're feeling your way through things. You're not necessarily being analytical and like using your left brain to think, like, for example, thinking about these symbols, you're like, well, I want the painting to be about this. So I'm going to paint this symbol and this is the message I want. And so you're going to, if you're working out of that side of your brain, then you're going to be more literal and it's not going to be open-ended and have this really powerful, beautiful feeling to it. So just there's so many different exercises you can do and to help you be a more right brain person, because we all have it in us. And we hear all the time from people like, well, because my job and who I am, I'm just left brain. Like I don't have the right brain, but everyone does have it. And it's just something you have to work at. And over time, it gets easier and easier where you don't have to think about things. You can just literally go to your painting and start painting something beautiful because you know how to like let go of the control. And I feel like the left brain does bring a lot of control to it. And that's also where you get into like self-doubt and thinking everything you're doing is terrible. And so I think the left brain does hold us back a bit when painting. And there's, of course, a time where you might need it. But yeah, I think getting into your right brain will help you be more symbolic in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think the last thing is don't get off on the first bus stop. So what we mean by that is, an idea will come to you, and maybe it came from your dream, and it's this idea like, oh, I'm gonna paint, whatever. I dreamt of a rabbit. I'm gonna paint a rabbit. It's like that might just be the first bus stop. Question everything. Why do I want to paint a rabbit? What did that rabbit feel to me? How did that rabbit arrive in my dream? What was around the rabbit? What does the rabbit probably represent? Is there another symbol that is more interesting to me to paint? Not that a rabbit isn't interesting to paint, but you can question that first idea. I almost always question my first idea and say, it was the first bus stop. It's probably not what I'm supposed to paint. And I'll kind of dive deeper into it. If it's really gripping me and I'm just like, oh no, I got to paint that. I'm so excited to paint that. That's one of those ideas that just dropped in me out of nowhere. And it's just I'm so excited about it. That's different. I'll go with that. That's an okay first bus stop. But if it's like kind of the first idea I arrived at, it's not that gripping, but it's an idea. I think that idea deserves more time to go deeper in it and see what else is behind it.
Totally. And that way your painting will be more unique and expressive, and it's not just like one canned symbol. It's something very personal to you. And when you're more personal with your art and you know what like your voice and your style is, then it's going to you'll be a much better artist in the end, and your art will be really unique and stand out.
Yeah. And so a lot of what we've been talking about in this workshop about, dreams, and we've hit on a lot of different subjects and talked about a lot of various things. Really, it all kind of culminates into your voice as an artist and who you are as an artist and what is your process like as an artist. and really your process, the themes you paint in, your style, that all is really your voice. And I think finding your voice as an artist is one of the most crucial and important things. And there's a lot of artists out there that have struggled finding that. Dimitra and I have worked with a lot of artists from all over and helping them find their voice. And we have this proven method of taking people through these prompts and these exercises and these ways of working where you find your voice, what is uniquely you. And so it's a big part of our mastery program. And so I want to talk with you guys for a little bit, just a few minutes, about where can you go with this? If you are like, man, I wish I could paint my dreams. I have so many dreams and I have so much inspiration, but I just don't have the skills. I don't have a way to really pull it off because I dreamt of this waterfall and I don't have a clue how to paint a waterfall. All I know how to paint is flowers. So I guess I'll just paint flowers instead of that waterfall, right? Sometimes our skills hold us back from being truly free to express ourselves. It could be that you just don't know what your style is. You don't even know what materials you want to work in. And so I want to help you. I want to help you get to the place where your artwork is in that place of freedom, where you're truly expressing yourself. And I also want to answer your questions. So it is 5:05, and so we're going to start the Q&A in 10 minutes. So at just after, like just before 5:15, that's what it is here in on the East Coast. So in about 10 minutes, we are going to start the questions. So now is a great time to send Jake any question you have that you want to ask us. And he is going to hang on to them and let us know what the questions are, and then we're going to answer them. So back to you really being able to express yourself as an artist and not having any limitations. Really, the mastery program is probably the very, very best space for you to be able to grow in that and achieve all your dreams of becoming a professional artist, as well as, I would say even more importantly, finding your voice and arriving at that level of skill and ability to express yourself that is life-changing, absolutely life-changing. How the mastery program works is it's divided into 4 sections. So each section is, the first section is drawing and oil painting. So that is very skill-based, and we're really honing and zeroing in on your skills. So you learn how to draw, measure proportion, basically be able to draw anything your eye can see, whether that's a photograph you take yourself, a photograph you find online, real life, in person. So being able to draw anything realistically. And we've found that if you can draw realistically, then you can abstract it. Then you can be expressive with it. Then you can really move into some sort of stylistic choices that might deviate from realism. Maybe you're even an abstract artist that paints non-objective abstract. You still need that foundation of realism. So that's what the drawing and oil painting is all about. In the oil painting section, we teach you all kinds of different oil painting, old master styles to expressionistic, and lots of brush strokes, how to really lay down the brush stroke in an accurate way, depicting exactly what it is you want to paint. And then in part 2, it's the mixed media and voice section. So you learn all kinds of mixed media techniques. So a lot of these things that we were talking about, how to work with inks and spray paint and various types of crayons and pens and urban markers, acrylics, water-based material, collage. And the point of being exposed to all these different techniques and a wide variety of mediums is then you can really see what is it you respond to, what resonates with you. Maybe it is the inks, maybe it's 3 or 4 different materials that you combine together, and so that you can come up with your unique process, because we talked a lot about process today with the dreams. Your unique process, not just in how you lay down paint and you construct a painting, but how you create source material. So we teach you all kinds of different ways to create sources and to find or create resource material to paint from. And we also teach you how to identify your personal aesthetic, what your temperament is. It's a deep dive in self-discovery, learning all about what you're passionate about. What are your personal symbols, and what subject matter do you really want to paint in, and how do you want to go about constructing that paint? So the entire creative process is really all about your voice, and that is a truly amazing part of the program. And then the third part is we dive into professional habits, how to keep a studio and run a business out of it, how to develop habits where you're painting and being prolific and turning out a lot of paintings. So a lot of us need to make some adjustments in our habits so that we are very strong working artists with a good work ethic. And that's when you begin your portfolio. So you start painting your portfolio, which is going to be a body of work of 25 pieces that represent your voice, your style, your imagery. It's your artwork in a portfolio that you get to present to the world. The fourth section is continuing your portfolio, but also learning about marketing and promotion and how to sell your artwork. So we teach you how to monetize your art into a variety of products, how to launch a print program, how to build a personal brand, how to work with social media, how to work with traditional channels of distribution, like working with galleries and publishers and licensing agents, and getting your artwork on a variety of products and getting royalties from that. We teach you how to create a marketing strategy that will work for you and your lifestyle, as well as how to promote and sell your artwork. So that all of that I just said, that is the entirety of the Mastery program. And as you can see, from start to finish, you can learn everything you need to know and how to be a professional artist. So these are just some student reviews and what current students are saying. Here's a student that sold over $10,000 worth of art since she started the program. Because what happens is you get really excited, you produce a lot of artwork in this program, and then you begin sharing it with your friends and your family and your followers, and they get excited with you, and they see this incredible art that you're painting, and they start buying it. And so we have tons of our students sell the artwork that they have actually produced while they've been in the program. And it's really exciting. So there's all kinds of great reviews and students that are find this program really life-changing. And I think one of the reasons why it's so life-changing is there's nothing more thrilling than seeing your skills elevate like crazy, and then seeing your voice and what you have to say coming together on a canvas, and really seeing your style develop. I mean, that is an absolutely thrilling thing. And having that support and an actual path that's proven and that works to make it happen, knowing, by the end of this, I'm going to actually make a living selling my art. So the amount of confidence that you gain as a person throughout this program, I think, is another life-changing aspect of it. This is one of our graduates, Tanya Abu, and some of the art that she is creating right now. She's in several galleries. She makes a living full-time as an artist, and she is one of, I don't know, probably thousands at this point that have achieved that. So there are tons of our graduates that are successful artists and doing really, really well. The cost of the program is here in these three options. So the essentials is $330 a month, or if you pay in full, you save a little bit, and it's $3,600. Once you buy the program, you own it for life. You have lifetime access to this program, and that is really incredible. And we're updating it. There's all kinds of bonus material added to it. So you have like this lifetime membership basically to this material that you can revisit. Here are the other pricing options. So that the accelerator, that means not only, oh, I forgot. In Essentials group coaching, you're a part of a coaching group where professional artists that have already gone through the program are there with you, helping you and guiding you. So you get critiques, you get all your questions answered as you go through the program. So that's also included in Accelerator, but you also get a personal mentor. So this is like having a professional artist in your back pocket that you build a relationship with over the course of the program. And then the last one is Pioneer. So that's where Dimitra and I, one of us, would be your mentor. So as spaces open up, there'll be opportunities for that. So group coaching is included in your tuition, and it is a really fantastic thing. You'll meet and make friends from all over the world. Some of our students are like lifelong friends with the people that they met in the mastery program, and that is a beautiful thing. So you have access to the group coaching for 2 years. You have access to the mastery program for life, but 2 years to the group coaching. So there's weekly Zoom calls and check-in calls that you can participate in. The mastery program is done on your time, online, so you can do it anywhere in the world, whenever, and you don't have to like show up at specific times. It's on your time. And if you go at the pace that we recommend, which is 1 year, it requires about 20 hours a week. So you can go faster, or you can go slower, or you can do it at the pace that we recommend. So this kind of talks about the different bonus material that's involved. So this is really exciting. We have monthly contests in the mastery program to motivate you and inspire you. And we give over $10,000 in prizes every single month. So we have 5 contests that go on every single month. So whether you have graduated from the program, you're midway through the program, or you're just starting, you get to participate in these contests, which is just entering your assignments that you've done and having a chance to win. So, and you win cash money. So it's really, really, really great. So do we have questions for that people have offered? We can start the question and answer time now.
Yeah, there's tons of questions. And you were right on time. Good job. Okay, so Ask Grace Ann wants to know if you have any suggestions on how to recall your dreams better. And actually, this was a very commonly asked question. Tons of people were wanting to know both of you, your advice on how to remember your dreams better.
Well, I did mention this earlier. When you first wake up, I feel like that's the most important time. And like she was saying, you want to journal your dreams when you do remember them. And sometimes as you're writing it, it'll come to you better. Sometimes, I mean, it's rare, but I'll wake up in the middle of the night with a dream and like it's so impactful and I don't want to forget it. So I'll get up if it's like 2 or 3 in the morning and I'll write it down. So I know that can be annoying, but if you don't want to forget it, writing it down is a really good thing. And I think when you first wake up, just not being on your phone right away, that always helps me because doing that, it just immediately shifts your brain into a totally different mindset and you're not thinking about your dream at all. So, and then sometimes if you have a very annoying alarm sound, that always gets me out of it too. So,
I think just the desire to want to remember is half the battle. I know a lot of times for me, if I know I had a dream, but I can't quite remember it, or I just remember a wisp of it, I'll even pray and ask God to like help me remember the dream. Because I figure, whoever, the giver of the dream can give it again, and recall it for me. So, and then as soon as it comes, I'll write it down in case I forget again.
Okay, James has a question. So he said that he keeps a journal but has trouble putting the ideas onto the canvas. What would be a good way to overcome the fear of rejection and being made fun of?
That's good.
Just in reference to earlier, he asked about like his dreams being emotional and, having a hard time finding ways to show emotion in the art.
I think Well, I think you just got to get started with it. And like we said, you're not literally illustrating the dream, so you don't have to put every detail from the dream into your painting. You want it to be just a suggestion, and it's a story to talk about with the collectors or with the viewers looking at your art. It's just something to kind of go off of. And I think that that meaning and the emotional part is already inside you, so it'll just naturally come out in your painting. But I would just start with one or two images from the dream that's standing out to you and just kind of go from there. And I wouldn't like try to fit it all in one painting. You can also do series, like she was saying. You can break it up into multiple paintings, so you don't have to like feel like every little detail has to be in there.
Since you write your dreams down too, you can convert, this just might be an easy segue for you. You can convert that dream that you wrote down into like, what are 3 emotional words that come to you as you think of that dream? And then maybe you can write down 3 colors that you might associate with that dream. And then you can just basically, make an abstract as a sketch. Maybe it's not a painting, but it's an abstract. So it's you engaging with your dream in a creative way outside of just journaling it, which is great. And that might spark something. That might begin something. Maybe an image will come to your mind as you are engaging with that emotion and that color in an abstract that has nothing really to do with your dream. You think it doesn't, right? But maybe it does. And so if you paint it, maybe an animal comes to your mind while you're doing this abstract, and you see it in a certain environment, or you see some other things around it. That is now sort of the next level of your dream, like not the first bus stop, but the second or third bus stop. I mean, I went from a diver with a diving cap and a 50s swimsuit, jumping off of a mountain with a volcano and whatever to mermaids. And that is the journey of that dream. So I think just starting and engaging with it in a creative way is and the more you practice that, it's practicing it. I think will get you somewhere. And then don't worry about, what other people think. For now, you can just make your art, and when it evolves into something that you believe is going to touch other people, then that's when you can share it with people.
That's a good point.
Okay, let's see here. Lavender Warrior says, I am limited at this moment with not being able to draw well at all as my lack of depth perception. How do I become better at conveying thoughts I want to?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about when I started sharing about the mastery program. And that's why we created the mastery program, is so that you have the tools to be able to express yourself. All those things can be learned. A lot of people think that somehow you're born with these skills, or, oh, if you're talented, then you'll have those skills. And I don't think that's true at all. I think that these skills are something that are learned. I mean, I used to be a terrible drawing and I mean, awful. And I couldn't paint anything. Dimitri used to be terrible too. So we learned it, and we learned it by taking art classes and learning from other people that knew what they were talking about, to show us how to measure, how to see. It's about training your eye to see. And once you've trained your eye to see, it can't be untrained. You know it. Yeah. So
drawing from your right brain.
Mm-hmm. So I would suggest you take the mastery program, and
right away you'll see your skills just improve like crazy, and you'll start to get that confidence to start to, take the things you're seeing in your head and bring it on the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Alexandra wants to know, what is the best advice to finding your own unique style?
That's really good. Good question. And it's probably a very long answer. But again, I think that really just taking the mastery program is going to help you you will for sure find your style and voice, because it's a very long process. So much goes into it. First have to know, you have to have the right skills so that you know how to actually express yourself and what you want to express. Because if you are limited and you can only draw something, you don't know how to paint, then you're thinking, well, I'm just going to draw then because I don't know how to do that, or I'm not good at that. So it limits you on how you can actually express yourself. So once you understand and you know how to do all these different things, and you know all these different techniques and different mediums of paint and drawing, then you can truly choose from a position of strength what you want to say and what you want your art to be about. So going through that whole journey of like getting all the skills that you have, then finding the right process for you, and then combining that with your ideas and inspiration, and creating a consistent style. I think style comes when you're very cohesive and you have a look that's the same over a long period of time. You don't want to just be doing all these different paintings all the time and not actually stick to something.
Yeah. Another thing that came to mind about this question is I've worked with a lot of artists in this, and when they're sort of looking for their voice, or they want to find their voice, they do a lot of different painting and they try a lot of different things. And a normal thing that happens is you emulate the art you admire. So we all have a bunch of artwork that we love, that we'd want to live with, that we want to see on our wall. And it isn't necessarily the artwork that you naturally would make. Just because you admire it, sometimes it's the opposite, almost like how a spouse or a best friend, opposites attract. So a lot of the art that I love, that I want to live with, is not the art that somebody in my temperament could make naturally. So a lot of times we are emulating a style, or we're working towards a style that we think we like, or that we like, but it's sort of incongruent with how we can paint. And so, or our temperament in painting, how we lay down paint. And then what happens is it gets frustrating, and you always feel dissatisfied. And painting in your studio is kind of a drudgery, and you don't really want to do it. And so you avoid it, because it's like you love art, you want to create, but the way that you're painting, it just isn't fun. And it should be fun. You should look forward to going to your studio. You can't wait to get your hands on the materials, and every minute of creating is just like a blast to you and fulfilling. And I think that if you find that is in the direction of your voice. So like Dimitra said, we have a whole proven method in the mastery program that walks you step by step in finding your voice. And it's in this very multifaceted way of self-discovery and really understanding what processes, themes that you want to paint in, aesthetic type things. And all of that really turns into your style and your voice and your style. So we just recommend you take the mastery program, because it's the fastest way we know for an artist to be able to find their voice.
Okay. All right. Just a few more questions, because we're getting close to the end of the time here. Shoot, I had just lost it. Okay, Doris wants to know, is the mastery program a lot of reading, or is it videos of you both teaching us? Could you guys explain a little bit more about how the course is structured?
It's all videos, and there's some, step-by-step written things, but it's all video.
We have a textbook, but it's mostly pictures.
And you'll see step by step how to do every single assignment. So the first, it's all you're walked through everything. So we even provide source material where you can use those photos and paint from that. We teach you how to set up your studio and your palette, and how to mix color. I mean, it's really detailed step by step. And the great thing about watching it and doing this online is you can pause it, you can rewatch things. We have found that people learn really well doing it in this format. And we have several different camera angles too when you're watching the video, so you can see close up different things. You can see how we're mixing the paint. Yeah, it's really great. And so then every assignment every week you're watching videos and then you're doing the assignment and painting, and it's about 20 hours a week of watching the videos plus the painting and drawing.
Yeah. And since so many of you are interested in the mastery program, I really recommend that you pre-register. So registration is closed right now. You can't join at this moment. Registration will open April 1st. So between now and April 1st, what you can do is join the wait list. And all that means is you have access to the pre-registration course, which is totally free. So there's no obligation. You don't have to give us your credit card. There's nothing we're going to ask of you. You just simply register you get on the wait list. I'm sure Jake can put the link in the chat. And once you get on the wait list, you'll get some emails from us. You'll get some sample courses. You'll get, lessons. You'll get this fabulous pre-registration course, which tells you how to build an easel, how to, for not very much money at all, teaches you how to set up your studio,
what supplies
some
you need.
right brain exercises where you can activate your right brain and get your right brain muscled up for the class. So that's what I would do if you are interested in the mastery program is get on the pre-registration wait list and get the prep course and dive into it and learn all about it. We even post a what do you call that that shows all the curriculum, like syllabus. That's what I'm trying to say. We post a syllabus so you can go and see all the lessons and everything that you'll learn in it. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay, last question. Okay, Dakota said, sorry, this isn't a question, but she just said, the waitlist has been great. I've watched all the videos twice. Awesome. And she said she's chomping at the bit earlier to get started for the master program. Okay, so last question. Teresa wants to know, I'm having trouble figuring out how to balance my current workload of painting commissions I started and diving into the mastery program totally. How do I manage my time between both?
You know, it is a fantastic problem to have. And a lot of our students have that because their skills develop so quickly, they start getting a lot of commissions. Mm-hmm. So what I like to say, and we actually have a time management video in the pre-registration where we talk about this, is I think it's very smart to schedule your time for the week. So Sunday evening is when I do it, and I map out when is my painting time, what time am I devoting to what? So that way, all I need to do is obey my schedule. So if you predetermine, okay, I can spend 15 hours this week on the mastery program, or I can spend 20 hours a week on the mastery program, and I'm going to spend 10 hours on my commissions, or vice versa, whatever you want. If you predetermine it and you schedule it and then stick to your schedule, you'll get everything done. I recommend that you stay engaged with the mastery program and the content, so you sort of stay fresh in your skills and your skill building. And as you know, there's times where you're waiting for paint to dry. You can't really move forward because you have, it's a process, and the underpainting you did the day before is still drying. That's a great time to pick up and work on your commission. So doing the commissions, I think, is important because you're going to do better. You're going to have an even greater chance of having a quick start. And I mean, we have so many students now. I'm thinking of all these students that actually are selling all their Tanya Boo that I was just talking about. She actually was able to quit her job before she even graduated because she was selling so much work and getting commissions all throughout the program. So I would do the commissions. I wouldn't put those on pause. If there's a way to do both, do both. Push yourself to do both, because this is your life. This is what's coming for you. This is not going to end, and you don't want it to end. You want your life full of painting. And even if it feels like a lot, even if it feels like every spare moment you have, you're devoting to art, that's great, because whatever is taking the rest of your time that maybe you don't want to spend, maybe it's a part-time job or it's a full-time job, one day you'll be able to drop that, one day soon. So I highly recommend to push yourself to the limits and be able to do both. Do the commissions, make the money, it'll pay for your tuition, and then some, and do the mastery program. So this was great. We really enjoyed this. It's one of our favorite topics to talk about.
Yeah.
And I hope you're really inspired, and that your the dreams that you dream at night can be a source of inspiration to you. Hopefully you have a bunch of tips of journaling and sketching your dreams and things that you can apply from the things that you learned today. And we are excited to see how this builds and elevates your artwork. And we are also excited to see those of you that are going for it in the mastery program. And this is going to be an incredible year for you, where, 1 year from now, you are going to be a full-time professional artist. So we encourage you to work hard, apply yourself, and, you can do it. We believe in you. So thanks for being a part of this and watching today. And we will see you next time.